Now, ahead of a potential meeting with the American President Donald Trump during the upcoming Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, China's Xi Jinping is preparing for a political and an economic blueprint that is aimed at reinforcing Beijing's global position. At the heart of this is the upcoming meeting of the Communist Party's top leadership, chaired by President Xi, from the 20th till the 23rd of October, known as the 4th Plenum. It will be attended by the CCP's top 205 officials and 167 alternate members who will finalize the outline of the country's next five-year plan to govern China's social and economic policies beginning next year. The plenum will codify Xi's long-held ambitions like technological self-reliance, economic security, military modernization, and what the party leaders call the high-quality growth. Now, currently, China's economy is grappling with slowing growth, weak domestic demand, and also an unresolved property crisis. Now, third quarter figures are expected to show the slowest growth in a year, and experts are saying that President Xi will use the platform to tighten his grip on the Communist Party through some sweeping personnel moves and targeted purges. The multiple senior officials are expected to be removed during the plenum, and amongst them is the former Agriculture Minister Tang Renjian, who was sentenced to death with a 2-year reprieve last month for alleged corruption. His expulsion from the party is expected to be formalized during this session, and at least about 4 other Central Committee members are reportedly under investigation, including the provincial governors and security regulators. Now, during the plenum, new names could be elevated to the Central Military Commission, the powerful body that oversees China's armed forces. Recently, remember, the CCP expelled 9 top generals suspected of serious financial crimes. And there's also speculation that Xi could use this plenum to test run potential successors or to eliminate rivals who could stand in the way of a likely 4th term beginning in 2027. All right, now joining us from Berlin, we've got Dr. Volker Standl, who's a former German ambassador to China and also a senior distinguished fellow at the SWP. Now, Dr. Standl, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on WION. Now, how do you see these? Thank you very much. Now, how do you see these purges that Xi Jinping is carrying out with respect to his military and within his administration ahead of this plenum?
The pattern as such is nothing new. The size that I mentioned may be quite new and maybe a surprise to us. What I mean by the established pattern, it is an instrument of power, keeping power, wielding power in the Chinese Communist Party to promote and elevate people at will and to demote people just as much as at will, to show the power of the person who does this. Xi Jinping, now in power since 2012, obviously has enough power. Otherwise, we would not hear the rumors that you are able to quote.
Interesting. Now that he's been in power since 2012, and it's been 13 years that he's been in charge, almost without any kind of opposition. You know, the question that obviously is, how do you see Xi Jinping planning his next 5 years?
Well, that is a speculative game of China watchers, I think, all over the globe, especially before the 4th plenary, where important things are going to be decided, and Xi Jinping will show, or maybe pretend to show, which way he's going to go. I think his power rests first on handling the economy so well that China is all the problems, despite all the problems that you just named before, is still managing the economy of China quite well compared to other industrialized countries. It's a world power, militarily and economically and politically as well. And that, of course, reflects Xi Jinping's power itself. That is why I think he has nothing to fear himself. But anybody who claims to be an opponent of him, he has to fear him.
And also, Ambassador, because you've been an ambassador to China in the past and you know the country so very closely, you know, we're going through a pretty turbulent time, a time of some pretty far-reaching changes. Under Donald Trump, the United States is appearing to be, you know, somehow directing back towards a policy of isolationism. Is this going to be seen as an opportunity by Xi Jinping to project itself more financially in Europe and in other parts of the world?
Most certainly. He sees the United States weakened, and Donald Trump giving up his strategy of elevating tariffs and fighting back against China is extremely weakened, and thus opens the door for China to try to establish closer relations with its major partners. Now, the EU is a major partner of China, so are other countries, of course, India as well. And I think that Xi Jinping will make a point during the fourth plenary to explain how he is going to handle this. In the case of Europe, the question is, will China be offering, will it economically be able to offer compromises of the kind that the Europeans demand, which is equal treatment of European companies in China and Chinese companies in Europe? And will Europe be accepting the special role that China plays in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, which is supporting Russia to an extremely high degree?
Interesting. We'll have to see as to how these issues unfold. Thank you very much indeed, Ambassador Stanzel, for joining us with that perspective there.
Thank you for having me.